but I need to tell it. I need to finally let this story breathe. Because the silence, it's too heavy. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there knows this feeling too. That ache. That pull. That ache for connection so deep you'd do something you never thought possible. I don't know how you'll see me by the end of this. I don't know if you'll feel sorry for me or hate me, but I promise I'll be honest, even when it hurts. Even when it makes me look like the worst version of myself. Because this isn't just a story about what happened one night. It's about everything that led up to it. The little heartbreaks. The long silences. The quiet dying of something I used to call love. It's about what happens when your heart's been starving for too long. And you finally taste something that feels like being seen again. So, here it is. My story. 2 years earlier. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where silence breaks and stories are finally told. I wake up before everyone else. Make the coffee. Pack the lunches. Fold the laundry that no one remembers I even touched. I smile when I serve breakfast. Ask if anyone needs anything. Pretend I'm okay when they don't answer. I've been married for 15 years. 15 years of shared bills, birthday cakes, and quiet dinners where the only sound is the clink of silverware. He's a good man, on paper, hardworking, provides everything we need. Except him. He's never home. And when he is, he's not here. His body's at the table. But his mind is always miles away. He doesn't ask how I'm doing. Doesn't notice when I wear something new. Doesn't even flinch when I cry during a movie. We sleep in the same bed. But I stopped reaching for him a long time ago. And he never noticed I stopped. There's a picture on the wall of us on our wedding day. We looked so in love back then. I wonder if that version of me still exists somewhere. The one with bright eyes and soft dreams. Then there's Liam. 17. Tall. Quiet. Always thinking. He's not my husband's biological son. But he's mine, and lately. He's the only one who notices when I walk into the room. The only one who says, "You look tired, Mom. Are you okay?" Sometimes I just nod. Other times I say, "I'm fine," and he tilts his head like he knows I'm not. He helps me clear the table. He stays back when his little brother runs off. He lingers. And I don't know why that matters so much, but it does. The house looks perfect. Trimmed lawn. Neatly hung curtains. Neighbors wave and say, "You're so lucky. Such a beautiful family." But they don't see how quiet it is inside. How I walk from room to room just to feel movement. How I put on music just so it doesn't feel like the walls are closing in. I've become a ghost in my own life. Doing all the things I'm supposed to do. But feeling like none of it matters. I did the cooking. The cleaning. The smiling. But no one saw me. Not really. Except him. We took a road trip that summer. Packed the car with snacks, extra chargers, and the kind of silence no music could cover up. I smiled for the pictures. Laughed when I was supposed to. But everything felt rehearsed, like we were acting out of family instead of being one. The boys sat in the back, earbuds in. My husband drove, barely glancing my way. He talked about gas prices. Work deadlines. I nodded. Pretended to care. It had been a long time since he asked me anything real. We reached the cabin just before sunset. It was beautiful, wooden, quiet, tucked away in the trees. A fireplace. A little kitchen. The kind of place that should have felt romantic. But by the time we unpacked and ate, he was already asleep on the couch. TV still on. Phone in his hand. I cleaned up. Washed the dishes. Everyone else had gone to bed. Except Liam. He came down, barefoot, with a blanket over his shoulders. Said he couldn't sleep. I offered him tea, and we sat by the fireplace. The room was dim, quiet, warm. I could hear the fire crackle. And for once, I wasn't pretending. He talked about school. About how he felt like he didn't fit in anymore. Said he hated how his stepdad never really talked to him, just talked at him. And then he looked at me. Right at me. Said, "But you always see me." I smiled, caught off guard. Said something like, "Of course I do, sweetheart." He laughed a little and shook his head. "You're the only one who cares if I eat. If I sleep. You always ask how I'm feeling." I swallowed hard, because no one asked me those things. No one had in a long time. Then, almost out of nowhere, he said, "You deserve to be happy, Mom." I froze. I don't know why those words hit so deep, but they did, because I hadn't heard them in years. Not from my husband. Not from anyone. And definitely not from myself. I stared into the fire. Felt something shift. He said goodnight, kissed my cheek, and went upstairs. And I sat there. Still. Quiet. Like the house had paused. That night, something cracked open in me. Not loudly. Not all at once. But enough. Enough to make me wonder what it would feel like. To be held. To be wanted. To be chosen, not out of obligation, but from presence. It was the first time in a long time I didn't feel like a ghost. I kept replaying that night in my head. Not because anything happened, but because something almost did. His words echoed louder than they should have. "You deserve to be happy, Mom." So simple, so soft, but they stuck to me like skin. I tried to shrug it off. Tried to tell myself it was just a sweet moment, nothing more. But I caught myself smiling when I remembered it, and then I caught myself blushing. That scared me. I started moving through the house differently. Wearing the blouse I used to save for date nights. Putting on lip balm before dinner. For no reason. At least, that's what I told myself. My husband didn't notice. Didn't look up when I walked in. Didn't ask why I hummed when I cooked. Didn't ask anything, but Liam noticed. He started offering to help. Washing the dishes before I asked. Carrying the groceries inside. Asking if I needed a break. One evening I was putting folded towels in the hallway cabinet. He passed by and said, "You smell nice." Just like that. Casual. Gentle. But it made my hands freeze mid-fold. And I hated that I felt warm inside. I hated that my breath caught in my throat. That I spent the rest of the evening trying not to replay that sentence. Trying not to smile. Trying not to feel something I wasn't supposed to feel. It felt like I was coming back to life. And I hated how much of that was because of him. I'd been so used to being invisible. That when someone finally saw me, even if it was wrong, even if it was dangerous, I didn't know how to turn away. I kept telling myself it was just gratitude. Just affection. But I already knew. It was more. It started with little things. Late-night conversations that stretched longer than they should have. Quiet voices so we wouldn't wake the others. But really, so we wouldn't break the spell. He'd sit at the kitchen table while I made tea. Sometimes we'd stand by the back door, watching the porch light flicker. There was something about those moments. They felt outside of time. Like the rules didn't reach us there. He told me about being bullied. About how he never felt like he fit anywhere, not in school, not even in this house. Said he always felt like a guest in his own life. And I understood that more than I should have. I shared things I hadn't spoken out loud in years. How I used to write poetry. How my mom used to hit me with a wooden spoon if I cried too loud. How I once ran away for 2 hours just to see if anyone would notice. He listened like no one else ever had. Like every word I said mattered. Like I mattered. Then one night, we were laughing. About something stupid. And in the middle of it, he reached out and touched my hand. Just lightly. Right at the fingertips. And I didn't pull away. I didn't even flinch. I just let it stay there. Warm. Still. Unspoken. The silence that followed said more than anything we'd said all week. After that, the air changed. He started calling me beautiful. Not as a joke. Not like a kid teasing his mom. But like he meant it. Like he was seeing something new. And I started hesitating before saying goodnight. I'd stand at the base of the stairs, heart beating like it didn't know where to belong. Some nights I'd linger. Other nights I'd turn away just a second too late. I told myself I was imagining it. that it was just a phase, that we were both just lost. But then came that night. I'd had a long day. My husband barely spoke to me. Dinner had gone cold while he took a work call. The little one had a tantrum, and I'd cried in the bathroom just to let it out. When Liam came down and saw me at the sink, he didn't ask questions. Just grabbed a towel and started drying the dishes. We stood there, shoulder to shoulder. And for a moment, the world felt still again. I should have said no that night. I should have gone upstairs, closed the door, and reminded myself who I was. But instead, I asked him to stay a little longer. And that was the first night I didn't sleep. It was raining that night. One of those slow, steady rains that taps on the windows like it's trying to remind you of something you forgot. My husband had taken the little one to visit his mother. They were supposed to be back the next day. Just one night. Just a little space. I thought I'd enjoy the quiet. Maybe even catch up on sleep. But the house didn't feel peaceful. It felt heavy. Liam was still home. He hadn't wanted to go. Said he had a project to finish. I didn't question it. We ordered pizza. Put on an old movie we both liked. Something we'd watched 100 times. Back when things were simpler. Back when lines weren't so blurred. We sat on opposite ends of the couch at first. But somewhere between the second and third slice, the space closed. Not in a rush. Just naturally. At some point, he got up and grabbed a blanket. Draped it over both of us. Not saying a word. I should have moved. I didn't. The rain got louder. The lights from the TV flickered across the room. And I felt something rising inside me, something warm and terrifying all at once. Then he turned to me. His eyes weren't asking. They were seeing. And that broke me. I started crying. Quiet at first. Then deeper. The kind of cry that comes from places you've ignored for too long. He didn't ask what was wrong. He just put his hand over mine. Gently. Steady. And I didn't pull away. I didn't say stop. I didn't say this isn't right. I didn't say I'm your mother. I said nothing, because deep down I didn't want him to stop. I begged him not to stop, not with words, but with the way I leaned into him. With the way I let my eyes close when he touched my face. With the way I exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for years. Not because I didn't know it was wrong, but because I was afraid of going back to feeling nothing. So when his lips touched mine, I let them. And when his hand cupped my cheek, I leaned in. There was no rush, no chaos, just silence, breath, warmth. It wasn't about lust. It was about being alive. And for those few minutes, that tiny sliver of stolen time, I wasn't invisible. I wasn't empty. I wasn't forgotten. I was seen, wanted, held. And after that, everything changed. The next morning, everything was different. Not loud, not dramatic, just different. He couldn't look at me. Not for more than a second. When I walked into the kitchen, he got up and left. When I asked if he wanted tea, he mumbled, "I'm fine," without meeting my eyes. And when I said good morning, he didn't say it back. The silence between us, it wasn't tender anymore. It was thick, cold, sharp enough to hurt. I felt exposed, like I'd handed him my heart in the dark. And now that the lights were back on, he didn't want to hold it. By the time my husband and the little one came home, Liam was already gone. Said he was spending the weekend at a friend's. Didn't say which one. Didn't ask if I needed anything. Didn't look back. And just like that, he vanished from me. I tried not to spiral. Tried to tell myself I'd imagined it all. That maybe I'd misread the moment. That maybe he'd regretted it before it even happened. But the ache in my chest told a different story. He started coming home late. Staying in his room. Spending time with people he used to complain about. And me? I started watching the clock. Counting the hours until I'd hear the door. Just to know if he was still coming back at all. I hated myself for caring. Hated how I scanned every room for his face. Hated how I wanted something that made me feel this empty. Why did I let it happen? Why did I need it so badly? I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. I'd put on makeup just to wipe it off again. Every time I caught my reflection, I didn't recognize her. One night, my husband came home early. We were sitting at the table. The little one was already asleep. He looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in weeks. And then he asked, "Is there something going on I should know about?" My heart stopped. I felt the blood drain from my face. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Not denial, not truth, just silence. And in that moment, I think he knew. Or maybe he didn't. Maybe he just saw the crack in me and realized it wasn't his to fix anymore. The days blurred. Everything looked the same on the outside. Same dinners, same folded laundry, same school drop-offs. But inside, something had cracked and it wouldn't stop spreading. I walked through my life like I was made of glass. One wrong look, one wrong word, and I might shatter. I battled with myself every single day. Shame and yearning. Fighting like fire and ice inside me. I missed him. God, I missed him. But I also hated myself for missing him. For wanting something I had no right to want. For giving myself away in a moment I can never take back. I wondered if I should confess. Just let it out, burn it all down, deal with the fallout. But then I'd picture Liam's face. Not the one from that night, but the one from when he was little. When he'd fall asleep with his head on my shoulder. When he used to call me his hero. Would telling the truth protect me? Or would it destroy him? Some days I thought I deserved to be exposed. Other days, I told myself it was just one mistake, a moment of weakness. A human need that got too loud. But deep down I knew. It wasn't just about desire. It was about being remembered. Being wanted. Being enough. I started seeing a therapist. In secret. Paid in cash. Told my husband it was a book club. I wrote letters I never sent. One to him. One to myself. One to a future version of me I'm not sure I'll ever become. I'd sit in the car after sessions, watch the trees move in the wind, and ask the same question over and over again. Can one moment ruin your whole life? Or does it just show you the truth of it? Because maybe it didn't start that night. Maybe it started the moment I stopped being seen. The moment I became